Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be doing our Premier League predictions for the 2023-24 season. Okay, so we're doing something a bit different. Don't worry, reactions will be coming back soon. They will be coming back very, very soon. But I really wanted to do one of these videos because I watch them every year. I watch other people do them every single year. And I find it interesting to see where people put the teams. And I really wanted to be able to do one of my own. This is the first time since I've started the channel where we've had a new season coming up. And I'm really, really excited to do this. So, we're going to start off very, very early on. We're going from bottom to top. We're going to go bottom to top, and we're starting off with Sheffield United. Now, Sheffield United, a few seasons ago, were in the Premier League. They had an incredible run. They were even challenging for top four at one point, I believe, if I remember correctly. They were way up there. And then from there, they've just had a gradual decline. They've gone back down to the Championship. They fought hard to come back up. I just don't think they're going to last, though. I don't think they're going to last. So for that reason, I am putting them in 20th place. In 19th place, we are putting Wolverhampton Wanderers. Since they returned to the Premier League after a long spell away from the league, they came back. They came back on fire. They were really good. They've had a gradual decline though over the course of the seasons recently. I just feel like they're lacking now. I feel like they're starting to lack in manpower, and I feel like their time in the Premier League could just about be coming to an end. I wanted to put them in 18th. I almost put them in 18th. So I would have still had them going down. I'm sure Wolves are going down this year. Sorry, Wolves fans, but that's what I think is going to happen. I think Wolves are going to go down to the Championship. I almost put them in 18th. The only reason I didn't put them in 18th is because I feel the team that I have put in 18th is just... They're also having a bad run as of late. And they're having that gradual decline as well. They're dropping a place each season, and then the next logical step for them will be to drop into the bottom three unless they fix things. I just don't think they will. So I've got Wolves in 19th, and I've got Everton. That's right, Everton to go down in 18th place. Last couple of seasons, they've held on barely. I think there was like 2 or 3 games left 2 seasons ago, and they held on under Frank Lampard. Then Frank Lampard had a really poor season last year. They survived on the final day. It took until the final day for them to survive. They barely pulled it off. Can they do it again? They're leaving it later and later each season over the last couple of seasons. Can they survive again? Possibly. Do I think they will? No. I think Everton have reached the end of their time in the Premier League because they are they finished at I think it was a 15th or 16th place finish 2 seasons ago. Season just gone. They're dropping, you know. They are dropping. They are gradually dropping, and I feel like this is it. I feel like this is the end of the road for Everton in the Premier League. I mean, will they come back up? I'm almost certain of it. But will they be able to hold on this season to another season in the Premier League? I just don't think so. And for that reason, I've got them going down in 18th place. In 17th place, we have Nottingham Forest, a team that I thought last season were probably going to go down. They left it late. But they pulled it off. I think they'll do the same again this year. I do. I think Nottingham Forest have got enough about them to be able to pull it off again this year. Under Steve Cooper, they've done so well. You know, they got the promotion that they were longing for. Last season, they did so well. They got to the semi-final of the Carabao Cup. They left, like I say, they left it late, but they did pull off what I just didn't expect them to do, and that was survival. I think Forest can do it. I do. I think Forest can do it again. I have no reason to doubt that Nottingham Forest have what it takes to stay in the Premier League for another season because of the fact that they did it last year. If they hadn't have done it last season, I wouldn't be talking about them because it's a Premier League prediction video. But I feel like Forest just have what it takes, and I feel like they're going in the right direction, you know. I feel like once you get past that first season, if you can get past that first season after being promoted, I feel like it's a gradual climb and then a decrease for a lot of teams. I feel like Forest have got a couple of seasons in the league left in them. I really do. With the money spent, like if they spend the money well over the next few seasons, I think they can gradually move up. I can see them finishing maybe 13th, 14th place if they spend well. At the moment, I've got them just clinging on for dear life again, because of the fact that it's still new territory for them. They've still got a lot to prove, but they had a phenomenal season last season in staying up and reaching the semi-final of the Carabao Cup. I just think that this year they're going to struggle again, but they will hold on again. I genuinely believe that. So I'm putting Nottingham Forest at 17th place. In 16th place, I've got Luton Town. Now you're probably wondering, where are you going to put Luton? We got from 20th to 17th, and I still hadn't mentioned Luton. You were probably wondering where they were. I'm putting them in at 16th place. It was very close, very, very close to putting them in at 17th. I honestly think they're going to stay up. I honestly believe they're going to stay up. I feel like they could have done more to get themselves set up for the new season. They could have spent a bit more money. However, I think that Luton are going to come in and they're going to bring something fresh to the league. They're going to bring a fresh perspective. I feel like Kenilworth Road is going to be a fortress. I feel like it's going to be a very difficult place to break them down. Obviously, the top teams, your Manchester Cities, your Man Uniteds, Liverpools, Arsenals, Chelseas, Spurs, them sort of teams, I feel like they'll go there and they will be able to pick up wins. I feel like your lower teams, though, your teams at the lower end of the table, are really going to struggle at Kenilworth Road. I really do. And I think Luton are going to pick up enough points in them games to be able to hold on. I don't think it's going to be as comfortable as maybe my predictions suggest, having them at 16th. I've only put them there because it was between Forest and Luton who I was going to put there. It could easily be the other way around. However, I feel like Luton are going to make Kenilworth Road a very difficult place to play. It's a very different stadium to what teams are used to in the Premier League. I feel like it's going to be an adjustment period for a lot of teams. I feel like Luton can capitalise on that. I feel like they can use the fact that their stadium is so different to everyone else's to make that work for them and pick up enough points from those lower teams down the bottom half of the table. And I feel like that's going to make a difference. And for that reason, I feel like Luton are definitely going to stay up. So I'm going to put Luton Town in at 16th place. In at 15th, we've got Fulham. Now, Fulham last season did better than I expected. Fulham are what I consider, along with Norwich, a bit of a yo-yo club. Because they have been over many years now. They come up, they go back down. They come back up, they go back down. It's happened a lot. It has happened a lot. However, last season they exceeded my expectations. I feel, though, with the Alexander Mitrovic situation, that they're just gonna drop. They're going to drop off a little bit. They're not going to be as effective. I feel like with Fulham, they're going to struggle. They're going to struggle. But I do feel like they'll survive because I feel like they had too good a season last season to just drop down into the relegation zone. I don't see that happening. But I feel like there's going to be a drop-off for them. And I feel like it's going to see them drop down into 15th place. And in 14th place, we have Crystal Palace. Now, Palace are a bit of an unknown for me, really. I don't know where to put them. I could have put them as high as 10th. I could have put them as low as I have at 14th. I could have put them lower. That's the thing. I could have actually put Palace a little bit lower. I just don't think... I feel like Roy Hodgson isn't the man. I don't know why. I just don't feel like he's the man to take Palace forward. I mean... He could be, but it didn't work before. You know, I feel like don't revisit managers. I don't like the concept of revisiting players. Like Cristiano Ronaldo coming back to Man United when he did, I thought it was a bad idea. It proved to be a bad idea. Paul Pogba when he went back to Man United, it was a bad idea. Romelu Lukaku going back to Chelsea was a bad idea. I feel like players when they try and return to a club have a bad run, and I feel the same with managers. So Roy Hodgson, even though he did what he needed to do to steady the ship at the end of last season for Palace, is he going to be able to take it forward? Is he going to be able to help them push on and grow? I don't think so. I feel like revisiting old managers is a bad idea. Now, you're probably thinking, but David Moyes at West Ham, they got rid of him, they brought him back, and now they're doing better than they did before, which is a very fair point. However, I just don't think Hodgson has got it. I don't. I feel like Hodgson, if he was going to do it, I think he would have done it the first time. I just don't think he's the man that Palace need. And I feel like they need to look elsewhere, get someone else in. And if they do, I feel like they can really push on. And you know, if they spend some money as well, if they spend it well, I feel like with a new manager, they could potentially make a move up the table. Could they be challenging for Europe? I don't think so. But could they be finishing as high as 10th? If they make the right moves, I think very possibly. I just don't think Roy Hodgson is the man for it. So for that reason, I'm putting them in at 14th place. And next up, we have Burnley in 13th place. Now, Burnley, I feel like, are going to cause a bit of a shock. I feel like they're going to get a really good run this season. I think they're going to have a really fast start. They've got a bit unlucky having Manchester City as their first game, but I feel like they're going to have a really strong season. I do. With Vincent Kompany in charge, the style of football Vincent wants them playing. You know, he's learnt from some of the best managers. Vincent Kompany really smashed it with Burnley in the Championship. They got clear ahead. They got promoted. They won the title. I think he's just going to keep. He's going to keep going from where he left off last season. I feel like Burnley are going to cause some teams some problems because Vincent Kompany isn't going to allow them to not cause some teams some problems. So I think Burnley are going to have a really, really strong season, and for that reason, I'm going to put them in 13th place. I almost put them in 11th. I just want that noted. I almost put them in 11th, but then I thought about it and I thought no. I feel like there's going to be teams that are going to improve from last season that are maybe just going to improve slightly more than what Burnley are going to bring to the table. But I feel like Burnley are going to finish in 13th place. So that's where I'm putting them. In 12th place, a team that I only just put ahead of Burnley, but literally barely put ahead of Burnley. And that's because of how much they surprised me last season, is Bournemouth. Now, I could easily switch Burnley and Bournemouth around. I could maybe even drop Bournemouth down to 14th. But I feel like Bournemouth last season really surprised me, and because of that, I think there's some big moves that they can make. You know, they can make some real strong moves in the season. I don't see them finishing too much lower than that. If they are going to finish lower than that, I'd have them probably as low as 14th, maybe 15th at a push, but no lower than that. I can't see them finishing any lower than 15th. The reason I've gone so high though is just because of how much they surprised me last season. They had a much better season than I expected to them, and fair play to them. You know, if a team comes into the league and has a strong season, stronger than people expect, I feel like there's something to work with there, and I feel like they are in a prime position to be able to push on. I just don't see them going too much higher. I think 12th. I've put them in 12th. Because I think that's their ceiling. I think that's as high as they're going to get. I don't think they're going to finish lower than 15th, though. So there's going to be somewhere between 12th and 15th. I just don't see them finishing lower than 15th or higher than 12th. I just don't see it. So for that reason, I should have put them potentially in the middle. I should have maybe put them 13th or 14th. But because I think that is their ceiling, I'm going to let them sit there at where their ceiling lies, in my opinion, which is going to be 12th place. And in 11th place, we have the Europa Conference League champions, West Ham United. I feel like they had a bit of a rough season last year, but they won the Europa Conference League, but they struggled a little bit in the Premier League. I think this season, they are going to push on. They've lost Declan Rice, which is a big loss. However, I think with the right moves, they can start to move back up the table. They're going to be in the Europa League. It's going to be a challenge. However, I do think that they are going to push on from last season because they've had a few good seasons in recent years. Last season, they just fell off a little bit in the league. But they've got a trophy to show for it. And I feel like they will want more silverware. They'll want to be staying in Europe. They'll want to keep pushing for more. And the only way they're going to do that is if they improve their league position. And I feel like there's enough ambition there for them to make their moves, push on, move up the table, grab themselves a good finish. Will they finish in a European place? I don't think so. I think 11th is where they're going to be, just because it's a move up from last season, but I just don't think it's going to be enough of a move up from last season. And I think the only way they're going to get European football again is if they it depends on their European journey. If they end up dropping down to the Conference League, and winning that, who knows? But I think they could potentially, given a little bit of good fortune, potentially I think they could go on and win the Europa League. But it would require a bit of good fortune, because look at some of the teams that are in there. There's some strong teams in that competition, so it would require some of the bigger teams to battle it out and knock each other out early doors. And I feel like a little bit of good fortune might be needed, but they could win the Europa League. I honestly think that. Will they reach it? Will they reach the final of the Europa League? At the moment, I'd say no. With good fortune, potentially. But this isn't about the Europa League. This is about the Premier League, and I just don't think there's going to be enough of a jump, because I feel like they've lost a key player in Declan Rice. and he's one of those players that's very difficult to replace. They need to, and bearing in mind Harry Maguire, you know, they Harry Maguire is a bad move, West Ham. He is, but I feel like Harry Maguire is going to be a problem for them. I feel like Harry Maguire is not the way they want to be going, but if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. And I feel like 11th is generous, you know. They could finish 10th. They could even finish 9th. I just don't think they're going to get into European places. But I definitely see an improvement from last season. With the loss of Rice, obviously, it's going to take some adjustment. It might be a bit of a slow start, but I feel like once they get moving, they'll really start to climb the table. And I feel like a mid-table finish is what West Ham need after a bit of a rocky run last season. They were on the brink of being in a relegation battle. If they'd have just lost a couple more games, they'd have been down in that relegation battle at the back end of the season. I feel like they had enough of a gap to be able to get themselves out of that relegation battle before it became a serious thing. And I feel like there will be an improvement this year, but just not massive improvements. So for that reason, I'm going to put them in 11th place. Next up, in 10th place, with their new manager, we got Tottenham Hotspur. The only reason I'm putting them down in 10th place is if Harry Kane goes. If Harry Kane goes, they're going to struggle. If Harry Kane stays, I'll move them up 2 or 3 places. That's the thing. And at this point, we know that Bayern Munich have agreed a deal for Kane. So, on that basis, I've moved them down to 10th place because I just don't think they're gonna do well without Kane. I feel like Kane is a key part of everything they achieve. Granted, they don't win anything, but they have okay seasons. I feel like if they lose Kane, they're going to struggle. Unless they replace him well. They would have to replace him well, but I feel like with the absence of Harry Kane, they will really struggle. And for that reason, and that reason alone, I've got them in 10th place. Harry Kane is the key. In my mind, Harry Kane is the key for them to do better. If they let him go, I think they're going to really struggle. So, yeah. I'm going to leave Spurs here. I'm going to leave them in 10th place. In 9th place, we've got Brentford, who I honestly think, could challenge for a European place. I do. After the season they had last season, the season they had before that, they're gradually improving in the Premier League. And this is what I was talking about earlier with some of the lower teams. They have that little rise, and then a lot of them have a decline following that. I feel like Brentford are still in that rise, and I feel like if they keep pushing, they could challenge for a European place. Do I think they're going to get it this season, though? Not quite. I feel like there's a couple of teams that are just going to edge them out, and that's because they are in a much stronger position than Brentford right now. But I feel like a year or two more, and Brentford could absolutely be challenging for the European places. But right now, I just don't think it's going to happen. So for that reason, I'm going to put them in 9th place. In 8th place, I've got Brighton and Hove Albion. Now, Brighton last season, man, were they something to watch. They were something to watch. They had a spectacular season, and they just dropped off towards the end. They could have been in the top 4 race. And they could have caught Man United and Newcastle United. They could have done it. I honestly think that. If they'd have just been able to just string a couple of more results together, I feel like they would have been challenging for top 4. But they exceeded my expectation by qualifying for the Europa League. I think they're going to be in the Europa League final. I think Brighton could win the Europa League. I'm going out on a limb now and I'm saying I think Brighton could win the Europa League. But I feel like Europa League football is going to affect their league performance, and that's why I've got them down where I have in 8th place, because I just feel like Brighton being in Europe is gonna give them problems, and they've lost key players. You know, I feel like they could go on and do really well. They could get another top 6 finish. They really could, but I feel like the travelling around Europe for the Europa League is going to just take it out of them a little bit. It's going to take it out of them just a little bit. It's going to have them drop off a bit and drop down to 8th place. But I feel like they could win the Europa League, and next season we could see Brighton playing Champions League football. Just from that alone. Because in my mind, right now, I will predict it. This is nothing to do with the Europa League, but I will predict Europa League final. I can honestly see it being Brighton versus Liverpool. Don't ask me why, Don't ask me why, but in my head, I've got that set as the Europa League final, and I'll predict that until it's no longer possible. I feel like Brighton, Liverpool, Europa League final, and then it's got to be Brighton. Come on. I mean, I'm a United fan, as you can clearly see. I can't support Liverpool to beat Brighton, so I'll be supporting Brighton if that does happen. But anyway, that's a way off. We're way off that at the moment. We're talking about the league. And I just feel like the travel around Europe, the extra games in Europe, I just feel like Brighton are going to struggle just a little bit with it. And I have a slight drop off, but not too much. But it might just see them finish outside the European places. I do think Brighton are going to have a really good season, though, regardless. I feel like they're going to cause some teams some problems. And I can honestly see them doing really well. I don't think they're going to finish any higher than 8th, unfortunately for them. But last season they were spectacular, and I don't want to take that away from them. I just feel like there's going to be a slight drop off because of the fact that they're in the Europa League. So for that reason, we're going to leave you here, Brighton, in 8th place. Okay, so in 7th place we have Aston Villa, another team who are involved in European football this season. I feel like, again, the European football might take its toll on them. I feel like Villa could have a really good run. I just don't think they're going to quite push just yet for top 4. But I feel like if they keep making moves that they are, they keep playing the way they are, they keep growing the way they are, I feel like before long they will be competing for 5th, 6th, and then potentially very near in the future could try and compete for them top 4 places. But at the moment, I feel like European football is just going to make them drop off a bit, just like Brighton. I feel like it's going to make them drop off just a little bit. I don't think they're going to quite push much higher than this, if at all. They might even finish a bit lower. But I feel like Villa, I want to put them in at 7th place. In 6th place, we have a team that I predicted. Obviously, there's no record of it because I didn't do one of these last season, but I predicted Newcastle would qualify for European football last season. I spoke to people about it the season before when they were in 20th and they were really struggling. They were battling relegation. They had a massive improvement under Eddie Howe. And I said to people I know, Newcastle are going to qualify for European football next season. And boy, did they. They absolutely smashed it, and they qualified for the Champions League. Did I think Champions League? No. But I did say they would qualify for European football. And man alive, Newcastle, with the players they had as well, considering some of the other players around the league and some of the other teams around the league, Newcastle absolutely smashed it. Eddie Howe has breathed new life into Newcastle United, and they are going to run riot again this season. I feel like, though, with the addition of Champions League football, they are going to drop off, just like I said about Villa, just like I said about Brighton. I feel like there's going to be a slight drop-off, but I still predict Newcastle to finish in the top 6 and to qualify for European football again the following season. Obviously, if they finish 6, I don't think they're going to win the Champions League, so if they finish 6, it will be Europa League football instead of Champions League football. But I absolutely, 100% put Newcastle in the top 6. Without a doubt, they absolutely exceeded my expectations last season, and I said they would qualify for Europe. Some of the people I know said, nah, ain't happening. They ain't going to qualify for Europe. They were something else. They were. And it was annoying. It was good for them, but it was annoying at the same time. And the only reason I say that is because they were pushing us every step of the way. They were pushing Manchester United every single step of the way, all the way through the top 4 race. Every time there was a result that went the way Man United needed to, Newcastle got a result that matched. Every time Newcastle got a result, Manchester United would have to match it. It was just very annoying from a Manchester United perspective. But it's a phenomenal job. Absolutely phenomenal job. And I feel like Newcastle are going to finish in the top 6. The only reason I haven't got them ahead of the next team I'm going to put in is just because they didn't do it last season. After a very hard-fought battle. And the team I'm going to put in at 5th, begrudgingly, and as much as I don't want to, I really want to put them in the top 4. I really, really want to put them in the top 4. But I feel like a couple of teams from last season are going to be better this season. And it pains me, but I've got to put in Manchester United in 5th place. I'd love for them to finish top 4. I'd love for them to win the league, obviously. But I've got to put them in at 5th place. I just feel like a couple of teams that were slightly off the pace last season are going to come back stronger this season. And for that reason, we're going to drop off. It's not going to be through any fault of Erik ten Hag. Erik ten Hag is doing a phenomenal job at Manchester United. He's getting rid of players that we need to get rid of. Players that needed to go a long time ago. Players like Ronaldo, who absolutely deserve to go. He was throwing his toys out of the pram. He thought he was bigger than the club. He didn't belong. He was playing crap and then complaining that he got benched. If you don't want to be on the bench, play better, you know? Erik Ten Hag made all the right decisions when it came to Ronaldo. He's making right decisions in this transfer window. He's just trying to get the players out that are just not going to be any good. They're not going to be part of his plans. They're just not going to work in their team. He's growing his own team, and I think that is very, very important. And it's about time that a manager has an opportunity at Manchester United to grow a team the way he wants. I don't think it's happened enough since Sir Alex Ferguson left. David Moyes was in the job for less than a season. Louis van Gaal, he brought through Marcus Rashford. He brought in a couple of players, but they just weren't quite at it, you know? They weren't quite good enough. His style wasn't really hitting the mark. Key point on Rashford very quickly, though. I don't know if anyone else has picked up on this, but Rashford came through under Louis van Gaal, and he played spectacularly. Rashford then dropped off under Mourinho, under Oli, and under Rangnick. But then, when we've gone back to another Dutch manager in Erik Ten Hag, his game has elevated again. Dutch managers bring out the best in Marcus Rashford. That is a fact. That is a proven fact in my mind. And I feel like, with the additions that we've made, I feel like Andre Onana, as long as he can play the way we know he can, the way he played for Inter, I feel like that's going to be big. Mason Mount's in. We've got Rasmus Højlund in. We've had some important players that we had to get out of the door. I feel like we are still growing, and that's the reason I feel like we're going to drop off just a little bit. And like I say, other teams are going to elevate their game from last season because of how poorly they performed for the majority of the season. And because they're going to elevate, and we're still in that growing phase right now of getting where we need to for Erik Ten Hag to really be able to make that push for the title, I feel like we're just going to drop off ever so slightly and drop us down into 5th place, which I really hope we don't. If I want to get any of this wrong, this is the one I want to get wrong. I want to get this so wrong, so badly, but I just don't think it'll happen. So for that reason, unfortunately and begrudgingly, I'm going to leave Manchester United here in 5th place. In 4th place, we have the first of two teams that really struggled for the majority of last season that I feel like are going to have a massive improvement this year under their new manager, and that is going to be Chelsea. I feel like Chelsea last season had a really rough time of it, but I feel like under the new manager, I don't know. I feel like Pochettino is just going to really take them to another level, and I think he's going to get them back into the top 4. That's all I've got for you. That's all I've got for you. I don't see Chelsea having another bad season. We see it often. Chelsea finish around 10th after many seasons around the top 4. They'll have a really bad season and they'll drop off. I mean, last season was extra bad. I don't think I've seen Chelsea play that bad ever. And they could have ended up in a relegation battle at one point. They were very close to ending up in a relegation battle at one point. I don't think I've ever seen that from Chelsea. However, I feel like this season, under Pochettino, Chelsea are going to step up again. And like I say, we've seen them around 9th, 10th place before for one season. And then they step it up the following season and they come back stronger than ever. And I feel like it's going to happen again here. I might have even put them in 3rd place. 3rd or 4th, I think, is the limit for Chelsea this season. But I feel like Chelsea will finish in the top 4. So, yeah, I'm going to put Chelsea here. And that takes us on to the other team that had a really rough time of it last season, but towards the end of the season really stepped it up, started pushing towards them top 4. They just ran out of time. And as much as I hate to say it, it's Liverpool. I think they're going to get top 4. I do. I think they're going to get top 4. I just don't think they're going to catch up to City. Yeah, the reason they dropped off was because of how many games they played the season before. I honestly believe that. They then started to find their feet a little bit towards the end of the season. I think they're going to start the season incredibly strong. I feel like they're just going to pick up where they left off at the end of the season. When they started playing really, really well towards the back end of the season, I feel like they're just going to pick up from there. Like there's been no break. I feel like they're going to play like there's been no break. And they are just going to pick it up. They're going to run with it. And they're going to have a really, really strong start. I just don't think they're going to finish any higher than 3rd. I think Jurgen Klopp he's gonna get them playing better. I feel like they were just exhausted from the season before, and I feel like the improvement is going to be there, and I do think they are going to finish top 3. Yeah, that's all I got for you on Liverpool. So then we got 2 left. We've got 2 teams left. So who do I think is going to win the league? The team I don't think is going to win the league, but I think it's going to be very, very close, is Manchester City. Controversial, I know. But I think after winning a treble, I think they're going to struggle. Not struggle, but I think they're not going to be able to do it again. I don't think they're going to be able to have as good a season as they had last season. I don't think they're going to be able to surpass Arsenal this year. I don't, because I feel like Arsenal are going to... They've got a taste for it. Arsenal are massively bottled it last season. They absolutely bottled it, but they've got a taste for it now. And I feel like it was nerves that got the better of them, because they were like, hang on, we're really going far this season. We've been top for so long. We are going to win the title. But they started to get nervous. I then think Arsenal this season, now that they've had a taste for it and know how close they came, I think they're going to push on. I do. I think they're going to be better than they were last season. I think City are going to drop off just ever so slightly, and I think that's going to leave the door open for Arsenal to sneak in. So I'm going to put Manchester City in here at second place, and I'll put Arsenal to win this season's Premier League title. And there you have it. The Premier League predictions for the 23-24 season. Let me know what you think of my predictions. Am I talking out my arse? Have I got it completely wrong? Do you agree with anything I've said? Do you think I should have moved anyone around? Where would you put people? Please let me know. I'd love to have a discussion with you about it. Find out what differences you'd make to my predictions. Please let me know. So that's going to do it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you're new to the channel, you know what to do. If you have anything you want me to do in terms of reactions or in terms of predictions or anything like that, I'm open to doing anything on the channel. So if you have any kind of content you want to see from me, please let me know. And I'll see you next time.